Good morning, everybody. So today I want to talk to you about how the narcissist has to devalue you, and they have to discard you, and they have to smear you and break you down like they do. Why do they have to do that? A lot of times they come in when they meet you and they're all excited and infatuated. So it's like you're this new person in their life that's going to fix all their problems. And that in itself gives them a new excitement. It's kind of like a sort of an adrenaline in itself. And we know that they're adrenaline junkies. So they get off on having adrenaline, power, control, duping you, baiting you, using you. And so all of this stuff is new in the very beginning. And in the very beginning, the empath has no idea what they're getting themselves into. So they're easily used a lot of times in the very beginning, of course, right? So they come in and they have no foresight, and so which means they can go from relationship to relationship, and it's like they just don't learn a thing. They can't learn from their mistakes, and they refuse to see their mistakes as part of the main issue. And with that, and the fact that they have no love, means that they also can't be vulnerable. It's almost like they cannot. It's impossible for them to be vulnerable because it goes against the negative construct that they are in, this fight or flight. This fight or flight will not allow them to. Maybe it's because of the trauma that they went through early in age, where maybe they did give or have empathy when they were a little child or something, and it didn't work out well for them. And through the trauma of whatever they went through, it's like they shut the empathy off and they decided they were never going to love again. And they start to go down the road of, what can I get? How can I use people for their commodity? And so they go down the road of, instead of being vulnerable, they lie and fake the vulnerability. And faking the vulnerability is from them accumulating stories of vulnerable stories that they have heard from friends and coworkers and childhood friends, and stories, stuff from movies and TV, and they just kind of use it as their own. So whenever you ask the narcissist questions and to give you some sort of information about their past history, probably 90% of it is a lie. And it's not even their story, it's their friend's story, and they just made it their own. It's a story they heard in a movie and they made it their own. It's not even their personality, and the personalities that you see even are personalities of stuff that they have watched on TV or they have stolen from other people, little bits and pieces. They're little traits and acquisition of traits that they have just mimicked from people that they were able to acquire on a surface level. And that's why even through the spell of meeting a narcissist, you know that there's a lot that's wrong, especially after you wake up, because there's no depth to them. They can't tell you anything, very vulnerable. If they do, it doesn't really add up. And the stories never come together into a cohesive story timeline. Their stories never come to a cohesive timeline that matches up. You're going to have so many broken pieces in their past when you would ask them questions about their childhood or about their past, and you'll never be able to line them up on a linear fashion to where they all kind of click in together and you have an understanding of the narcissist at all. A lot of times they give you as little as possible, and whatever they're giving you is a fake made up story that they have copied from somebody, like I said, or they've seen it in a movie, or they heard these stories from a friend or a relative and they just made them their own. Whether it's a tragedy that they so-called experienced, or it's something they did that was awesome or great, or something that they know how to do, which a lot of times they're flying off the seat of their pants and making it as if, they're doing this in live mode. Like if they tell you they know how to do something and they don't, they're going to fake it until they make it, if they can. But a lot of times you're going to find that you're going to see through it because it's a lie and they really don't know what they're doing, and you'll end up having to finish whatever project that they said they know what they're doing on, because they obviously don't. But a lot of times the empath will not call them out on it because we feel kind of bad for them. We don't want to address it and shame them or hurt their feelings. You know, a lot of times we try to, in the narcissist family, when you grew up in a narcissist family, one thing that you do that hurts you as far as your boundaries go, where you were groomed for these situations that you end up later in a love partner, is that you're kind of get into this mode when you're a child of you don't want to hurt people's feelings. And I think that part of it is the people that you love in your family, they probably don't love you, but you love them, or you think they love you. You kind of see them lying a lot, doing stupid things, man, and so they usually try to get you to cover for them a lot of times as a child. You know, like you were there or something, and maybe you were there, but it didn't happen like that. And if you're out there and they're promoting this stuff in public, and say you're their younger brother, you know, you're not going to call them out in amongst their friends. You're going to kind of have to act like what they said kind of happened, and at least for a time, because you don't want to hurt their feelings. Because what are you going to do? You're going to say, you know, you're lying to all these people, and because of that, you feel like a phony, man. So you'll do that for a little bit, but then after that, you know, after a while, you'll start to kind of like not want to be around them, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to come up with some fake story, and you were there and it didn't happen like that. And then as you get older, you're going to start addressing these things. Like, man, it didn't happen like that at all. This is what happened. And they always want you to back them up. So you kind of get trained in that the person that you love, if you're going to stay with them, then you're going to have to back them up on their lies. And that's where you become the enabler. And the enabler becomes a lot of times just as toxic as the narcissist, because you're kind of perpetuating these lies and helping them get people to believe some bullshit. And so you may have quit doing it with your family, but then here comes the love partner, and then again you like this person, and they are able to win you over with what seems to be truth and empathic love, but then you realize that it's not, and you're back in the same mode. Instead of it being your brother that you're backing up, or somebody in your family, now you're backing up your love partner, and you're like, how did this happen? And until you wake up to the narcissism thing, do you really fully get that you're acting the way you are because you were groomed this way? And that's where it's like you're perpetuating this generational curse. But when you're the curse breaker, you only do this stuff for a time because you're like, you hate this. And a lot of times you're stuck in it until you can make enough money on your own to get the hell out of there and survive on your own. So you're kind of forced, if you want to eat and you don't have enough, you know, finances and things to make it on your own, you got to deal with these people. And so they come in and they love bomb you, and then they start to, they see your traits as, and the reason they came to you. A lot of times they think that if they spend enough time with you, that they can absorb these traits, they can mimic these traits, and then they can start to understand this energy and how they can mimic your gifts. And then they find out shortly that they cannot. So then they get pissed off, because now they know that, you know, you have qualities that are genuine, that you weren't just faking them. A lot of times they come in thinking that you are faking just like they are, so that they could spend time with you and learn how you fake them so good. But it's so good because it's real. And they don't like the idea of anything real. They like the idea, they wanted to hear that you were faking this and they were able to copy it. It's like they want their cake, they want to eat it too all the time. It's like they want to be in a relationship, but they want to be able to have the free reign to cheat. They don't know anything, but they want all the power and control in the relationship. They put no work in, but they want to abuse and use you, and you're the one that's putting all the work in. And so at some point in time, they know that the only way that they can get the upper hand on you is to just devalue you down to the ground and give you some sort of inferiority complex and get you to try to get you to react and then believe the lie. And if they continue to get you to believe the lie and you start to believe it, the things they tell you, and the longer you're with them, you're like a, you know, some kind of a plant that, or something that would flourish in nature. Now you're in an area, a space in your life where you're with a narcissist, and the narcissist kills all vitality and all life and all goodness. So you can't, you start, even whether you believe even their lies that they're telling you and the devaluations, just being around these fools is enough to kill your vitality and to kill your spirit. And you'll start looking and acting poor just like them, just because you're around that negative energy for all the time. And so then one of two things happens. They either devalue and discard because, you know, it's gotten to the point to where you do look pitiful and you're acting pitiful because you've been with them too long and they're toxic. Or they do it, or, you know, they do it because you are better than them. And generally speaking, I mean, it's all manipulation. So it's, you're always better than them because they're really a piece of shit. And so they have to do this and then steal your fuel, steal your energy, because they can't learn it. They can't generate it from inside. This is all empty and hollow. That's why they can never be vulnerable with you. When you have no love, you can't be vulnerable. You can't get deep in any kind of conversation about yourself. And if you were to ask them why they loved you, they would tell you, and you can tell me in the comments, but they're going to say, I hate the like button, y'all, but they're going to say that it's the way you make me feel. And if I were to ask you, empath to empath, why you like the narcissist, you couldn't tell me. The only thing you'd probably say is you're addicted to them. And I've said that even before I woke up. But it's good for you to know these constructs, because when you know the way these people think, and even if you can't, you know, you don't have to deal with them in a love partner relationship anymore, because you find a good love partner, they're going to come at you in coworkers and in the church and out and about and restaurants and all kind of stuff. And then your old friends and ex-partners will be popping up just trying to get at you and to bait you into some sort of reactive situation. But the narcissist, the best thing you can do with the narcissist is to not be reactionary at all, meaning give them nothing, meaning don't engage with them at all if you can. If you don't have anything attached to them, I mean, you can completely disengage. If you just never say anything to the narcissist, is the best way you can handle a narcissist. But to do that, you have to be emotionally detached from them. And that's why the quicker you detach from them emotionally is the quicker that they get their karma. Because they don't reap all of their karma until they're out from the camouflage of your energy, your fuel. They're still siphoning off your fuel, so they're not going to reap all their karma. The brunt of their karma comes is when you walk away from them and you unplug from them, and they're away from you long enough to where they can't even copy your traits anymore because they're not even around to mimic you. They have to be around you, pretty close to you on an often basis to continue to mimic and fake your traits. And they do it with your own energy. And there's nothing in there. That's why the mask is all they have. And the mask is always just mirroring and copying what is out here. And they don't really process any emotional thoughts and feelings for themselves to come up with answers. Because to come up with answers, you have to process your emotions and your thoughts. And you also have to be able to go back into your life in the past and to get answers from that. And foresight, right? They never have foresight. They can never learn from a past relationship. But the only thing they learn to do is to be better at their evil craft that they have. And when you can't process thoughts and emotions because you refuse to, and you refuse to go inside for anything, that's why they don't have foresight, because they're looking from here out. And they don't ever get an answer from here back. And all your answers are in your mind and your heart and your soul and your past experiences and the process of those. So they don't really like to process anything in the past. And so it's like they don't process anything in childhood. They just take people's stories, any stories that you've heard from the narcissist, 9 times out of 10, they're going to be a complete lie. And they don't give you enough information to where you can click in the information together and get some sort of a linear fashion of a mapping of who they are based on the past situations and stories they told you, because they never click in together, because you'll find they never click in together because they can't, because they're all little pieces of stories of other people that they made up, that they just made their own for you. That way, if you ever catch them at anything, they can say you're lying because it was made up. And they don't feel like hurt by it if you try to degrade them or give them a hard time about something they did in the past, because they made it up and they're going to deny it anyway when you bring it up like that. They're going to say you didn't say it. And so it's just like kind of a protective mechanism, but it's just also where it hurts them is there's no growth. They're just a shell mirroring what people want to hear and see, and getting around people that they can steal their traits from or their commodities. But if you notice, the narcissist has to almost suffocate you when they're with you as a love partner, because they can't be alone, because they have to continually also feed off that energy, and to they have to kind of stalk you all the time so that they can copy you. That's why when you're away from them for a while, they're not going to be able to take those traits and use them for themselves anymore. Although they're fake, they can't generate anything. That's why they hate us. And they're not creative, because they don't use any kind of processor. They just copy. They're basically biters. They bite off everybody's style. They bite their traits, their style. They steal their finances. And they just get off on degrading and devaluing. And then when they leave you, they have to devalue and degrade you. They got to convince themselves that you're the predator, so they can feel okay with doing what they do, so they can continue on doing it and not feel bad about it. So that's kind of why they, this construct kind of is the way it is. But they are not creative. They don't have common sense, and they cannot process any emotions, feelings, thoughts. And so because of that, it's almost like every relationship, they just have to start all over in a stunted growth that they have. And that's why they like a new form of supply better than the old form, because the new form of supply, they could start from square one again. And, if you start from square one all the time, it's like, until you play that individual long enough to where they figure you out, or figure out that you're lying, cheating, stealing, and you're cheap, that it's going to be good for them. So, if you can give me a like, subscription, thumbs up. Love y'all. Peace. Be out.